So the first thing you want to do when you're looking at doing your elective residency visa is decide if it's something that you really need. It's not a small matter to put everything together. There's an expense to it to pay for the fee, your time to pull all the documents. So you want to make sure that you really need it. By law here, you're allowed to come into the country for 90 days every 180 days. So if you came here, you could come for a month, go home for a month, come back for a month, go home for a month, or you can stay a full 90 days, but then you have to leave, be gone out of the EU, out of the Shenzhen zone, and then you can come back in after another 90 days. Any preceding 180 days, you cannot be in Italy for more than 90 days. Now, if you feel that that amount of time is not enough for you, that you want to spend like Olivia and I have done, you want to be here basically full time and only maybe take a short trip out of the country and stay here for a year or 2 years or forever, you need to get a visa. The one we decided to get, and the only one I'm talking about, is the elective residency visa, also called a retirement visa, although you don't have to be retired to do it. You could be actively working, doing consulting in another country and living here. You could be in the property business here and make passive income. That's allowed. So you could have a lot of cash and be able to show that cash and be allowed to stay on that. So there's lots of ways to qualify for the elective residency visa. The next thing you need to do is you need to get on the website, and each consulate has their own website. So each consulate, at least in the United States, covers a number of states. I'm sure it's the same in, let's say, for example, Canada. Maybe you live in Vancouver and there'll be a different consulate over in Quebec. Now, one thing to keep in mind is, at least where I went, you did not have to go in person. I submitted our application packets through the mail, FedEx, something that's signable so you make sure you know where your packet went. Once you submit it, ours took 28 days exactly to get processed and get our visa. I thought that was pretty good. Now you're going to need to pull together a ton of different documents. On the website, it'll give you a list of all the things that they want to see. Things that include but are not limited to your marriage document, if you're married, 2 years tax returns, complete copies of bank statements for your main checking account for 1 year, any accounts where you're holding liquid assets, deeds to any properties that you own, deeds to any properties that you own here in Italy, if you're coming to Italy, a medical certificate that says that you have insurance in Italy for the time that you're going to be here, or a minimum of 1 year. We got ours through Alliance. They were easy to work with. And we pay about $280 per month for that policy. It's basically a catastrophic policy. But if we suddenly got sick with, say, COVID, we would cover us as well. I'd also like to mention here that the medical system in Italy is fantastic. I recently had to go through it and get a couple imaging things done that turned out to be a nothing burger. But I had a ultrasound and 2 CT scans, and everything was fine. It cost a total of 470 euros, including the medical doctor consults, to get that done. You're making the right decision. Italy is fabulous for many reasons, and the medical health care here, second to none. So I recommend putting together a very organized packet. I made a table of contents that went on the front of my packet, and it was labeled 1 through 12. And 1 was my passport. That also included my Department of Public Safety or the state police criminal history background check that I went and got. That also included the biometrics that are required. So you go in and get your biometrics done, you get a passcode, then you can get on the database and print out a thing that says that you're not a criminal. That goes in there. And then everything, boom, 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 boom. Our packet ended up being over 300 pages long, mainly due to the Italian property deeds that we had to include in the packet to show where passive income was coming from the properties we've already bought. You'll also need to have either a rental property or a property that you already own, the contract for the rental property or the deed for a property that you already own that shows where you're going to be living. You can't just show up and decide you're going to go find an Airbnb. That has to be done before you get here. And if you're a couple, you need to have 2 complete sets of documents, even if it's joint accounts. That's the one mistake that we made. They called me and said, hey, we need another copy of everything that was joint that you put in the packet to cover Olivia, because we have to file these things with all the documents. Each visa application is independent, even if you're coming as a married couple. So once you have all that done, you send it in DHL and the wait starts. Now remember, you're sending in your passport, your physical passport, with these documents. That means you will not be traveling until they either process or reject your visa application. Mine was 4 weeks. I don't know how long yours will be. So you need to make sure you put that into your plan of when you want to do this. Maybe you do it in January when you're thinking you don't want to go to Italy or travel out of the US or Canada or wherever you are. But put that into your planning, because you just don't know when you're going to get your visa and your passport back. Once you get your visa and you make your flight over and you kind of permanently move to Italy, at least permanently for the year or 2 or 5 that you're going to stay here, once you get here, you need to go to the local post office where you're living and pick up a packet. Inside that packet is going to be the permesso di soggiorno. That's a permission to stay. And you will fill out that form, put in all the information that they require, and I highly, highly recommend you bring a complete copy of all the documents that you submitted with your visa application. I recommend you bring a complete set of that for when you go to your meeting, and you may even need to put in some of those documents when you take your visa application and your new photos that you're going to have taken, and you put everything back in the packet and you go back to your post office and they mail it in to the local provincial center where you're going to go for an appointment to be interviewed individually. Once you go to that appointment, and that's usually 4 to 5 months later from when you actually turn everything in here, you'll go to that appointment, and that's when you'll get your residency card, or at least be approved for it. And then once you have that, you can go in and get medical services, you'll be paying your taxes here, et cetera, et cetera. So that's basically it, guys. I talk to people that have gotten lawyers and they're dealing with everything. If you qualify, I don't know what there's that much to deal with. You fill out forms, you gather information, you send it in, you keep track of it, be proactive, and you'll get your visa and be able to come here. I've always wanted to say this in one of my videos, and so I'm going to say it right now. Don't be afraid to make a jump. Don't be afraid to make a move like we did. We're extremely happy. Yes, we miss some family that hasn't come here yet. But if you're worried about moving to Italy and missing all your friends, trust me, they're going to find you here, and you're going to see them more than you ever saw them when you were back at home. So don't be afraid. You can always go back to where you came from if you decide that moving to Italy or Portugal or Spain or France or wherever you're thinking about moving to, if it doesn't work out for you, you can always undo it. I highly recommend coming here. I mean, it's a lovely place. All right, I hope this was helpful. If you have more questions, ask them in the comments. Email me at Bradsworld.It@gmail.com. If you want to see the properties that Olivia and I have put together here, you can go to TuscanPalace.com. It's a great place. There's tons of tourists, and I think you're going to have a great time coming here, investing here, and most importantly, living a great life here. All right, y'all take care. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking the video, and we'll talk to you soon. Ciao.